Welcome back to Blue and Blue, everybody. My name is Mark.
And I'm RJ, and we get back. We're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and that historic Anaheim Ducks game and what's going to come up for the rest of the week.
Okay, so it was a big anticipated match between the Anaheim and Toronto. And everybody thought there was going to be, they're talking like a bench brawl, but I guess it didn't happen.
We don't have those anymore, but they were going to have the exact some revenge on Gudas. Very interesting. But, to start off this video, can't talk about Toronto-Anaheim without mentioning it's noteworthy to that game. An hour and a half before the game, Keith Pelly fired Treliving, and so we're going to do a whole separate video on that.
Yeah, but just before that, what do you think about the take on what's your take on the timing? Why would they do that an hour and a half?
Well, I'm actually going to speak on that in the other video, but that's because that's how bizarre that was. The Leafs start a road trip, and they're also starting it playing a game that's a really emotional game with a lot, something riding on it with.
Yes,
and then they chose. So I think that was a forced firing. So that's pretty obvious to me. There's no way they would fire their general manager an hour and a half before such a game, let alone the fact that it was also the start of a Western road trip. It's unheard of. You don't do it. We'll get into it in the next video. I've got a reason. I've got a whole thing as to why they did that. But
so right off the face-off.
Well, that's the thing. So Gudas had a bad foot, and he said, "No matter what, I'm going to play in that. I'm going to play in that game." So kudos to him for that. And he wanted to honor the code, and boy, did he ever honor the code, because they drop the puck, and he immediately drops his gloves and starts motioning to center ice. Domi drops his gloves, and they go at it. And Gudas does not raise his arms. He just basically let Domi punch him out. And some people are applauding him. Oh, the guy knows the code, and he knew he did a bad thing, and he wanted to let the Leafs do something. I got a lot to say about that. First of all, I'm going to say it from the Anaheim side. If I'm Pat Verbeek, who, by the way, was a pretty ferocious warrior in his day, he's the general manager of Anaheim, and he's sitting up in his box looking down, and his fans that they have to sell tickets to, who maybe don't really give a shit about Toronto or know that Gudas took their maybe they know, but they don't really care.
Yeah.
And Anaheim fans are looking, what the hell is our captain doing? Our captain just skates to center ice and then gets wailed on. He just lets a guy beat him up. Our captain.
Yeah.
So I thought Pat Verbeek might say that.
I thought we'll try to get at least one.
I don't think. And then secondly. So here's what happened. Obviously, it was a stage thing for the Leafs. The Leafs, obviously, the veterans on the team came together, and probably Pizzata or someone else, McCabe, and all some of the other tougher guys were vying for the job. But Domi, being a veteran, played more games. Also, Matthews, pretty good, maybe his best friend on the team. Domi pulled the card and said, "No, I'm doing it." But here's my thing on it. Why are you doing it at the drop of the face-off? Nothing like leaving a frog in a pot of slow boiling water. That's what I would have done with the guy. I would have left him, and when's it going to come? When are they going to do it? Every time Steve Lorentz or who's a big guy, and I picked the wrong guy. He never hits anybody. Dakota Joshua comes down the ice. Is this the time they're going to do it to me? Like, I would have let Gudas suffer a little bit in his own head. Instead, the whole thing gets over with. Of course, later on in the game, a couple of Leafs tried to chase after him, and the referees were having none of it. They threw Pizzata out for abusive official. I saw the official yelling at him. The only abuse I saw was one way. So anyway, the whole thing was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, but it was a good bounce back win.
Well, they were down 3-0
from the disaster they had the game before.
Yeah, down 3-0, came back and won 5-4. Riley got a goal and assisted on Tavares' second goal, which was the overtimer, and was really Riley's shot. So Riley had a good game. That's the way he exacted his revenge, I suppose.
Yep.
But all in all,
Nylander 4-point night.
It's a big shrug. Who cares? But the Leafs, for us fans, I'd rather have Anaheim win. We want to get Florida's doing. Bill Zito is a smart general manager down there. Florida's working as hard as they can to get in that bottom five, and they're going to take the Leafs. That's the team that's going to get that 5 spot.
Yeah.
St. Louis is on the move up. Florida and Toronto are going for that 5 spot.
Well, Toronto's won 3 of the last 4, so I don't know if they're really trying to get to that last 5 spot. I mean, it's
the players are never going to try, but the coaches and the general managers, the management, you just put a bunch of Marlies in the game, and you maybe play your goalie 2 nights in a row. Let them, because goalies have a worse record when they play 2 nights in a row. Blah blah blah. You can do things that they're not cheating,
But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. That's the thing, right? It doesn't seem like they're.
Well, Berube, Berube's part. And Berube's not going to tank. He wants to. He's looking for another job probably. So he wants to look good.
I think 99% of the fan base wants them to tank. And
we want to. No, not everybody. 99%. There's anyone under the age of 6 who doesn't realize the game's a business is still cheering for the Leafs. But that's about it.
Right.
Anyway, so that was that. And
so coming up.
They got L.A., San Jose tonight. And L.A. on Saturday, and then they come back and they have a couple of days of
there's a long break between.
They're coming off after the Western road trip. They get a break for a couple of days.
Yeah, the next game after that will be Washington on Wednesday.
And that's about all I got to say about that. So the Gudas thing's over with. That's done. And really, and if you really want to get vicious, I mean, why are we even fighting Gudas? We should have one of our guys lay a pretty good beating on one of their good players. So I don't know. It's all frontier justice. It's a bit weird. I just think anyone who thinks that the NHL, down in the States, a lot of people think the NHL is not a recognized major league. And when they see a thing like that where Gotis just skates to the center ice and lets a guy beat him because there's a code. Non-hockey fans that don't understand that are going, what the hell's with that sport?
Anyways, Toronto has 7 games left. What are your thoughts on what's their strategy tonight? What do you think they should be going in there?
Well, I hope that Celebrini goes nuts on them and they lose.
Yeah.
What is the fun in us winning right now? No. The worst thing that could happen, I remember a few years,
it's just lipstick on a pig.
They go on a run and they end up like 3 points out of the playoffs and blah blah. Anyway, let's get on to the next video. We're going to make a video on Brad Treliving's
firing, and and that's the next video. Join us in the next video where we can talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs rebuild, retool. There's a lot of talk about going out. Treliving, who's going to replace him or who's not? Who wants the job? Does anybody out there want the job? Watch us in our next video, and we're going to talk about it. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.